purse, welcome to my channel. I'd say if you haven't been here before, like nobody has, this is video number 1. Our first video that I'm going to be working on with, and I'd love to get to work with today, is this particular purse. Now this is built by Bosca, so what I would like to do is, I'm not going to take this apart by any means, but what I will do is I'm going to look at it very, very carefully and analyze how was this put together, or what were the materials used, and can I recreate it, which I will have in a future video. For today's video, all we're going to focus on is just looking at what's in this purse, how's it made, the kind of materials that I think it uses, interior and exterior, and start getting a plan for how I want to design a copy of this particular purse. So I'm excited to get to work. I'm excited you're here. Thanks for being here, and let's get to it. Okay, so let's get started. Pardon the barge marks here. It's kind of gross, but I'll get that peeled up someday. Okay, so this purse in particular is by a company called Bosca. And you can tell that because when you look inside, I love this detail. It says open. That tells you here that this little flat piece is open on the back. You can open that up and then you can see here, I don't know how easy it is to see. There we go. It says Bosca built. This particular item I found off of eBay, and yeah, 125, 21. So this is kind of a later one as far as I know. Teeny tiny pencil. How awesome is that? A tiny, tiny pencil. There's this piece here, which looks to be, it could have been a coin purse at some point. It's missing the piece in here. And then in here, it's hard to, I don't want to peel it too much, but you can barely see there's a mirror inside there. And I kind of tried futzing with it earlier. Somebody, of course, over the years has fixed little issues along the way. So that's beautiful. And then finally in here as well, on this other side, is a lovely leather wrapped mirror. It is wild. Hello. It is wild to think the hands that have been on this over the years. That's part of the history that I really love to think about. Yeah, it has a fairly standard purse frame for the era, of course, and this is a very, very soft, almost suede-like interior. Very, very low, gosh, I'm gonna call it a pile because I don't have any other word right now. It's very velvety. Beyond here, like, you've got a couple of pockets that are very neatly sewn, and it goes down, you know, 5 or 6 inches or so. So closing that up, let's take a look at the exterior and see now. Here's that lock mechanism in place. So here's it unlocked, and it says open on this side, right? But then if I turn that, this would have been the locked position. And I think you can tell here along this top edge, just barely, I don't know if you can see it very well. Let me open it up again. You can see it, like, over the years this has been forced because there's a little bit of damage up here. So yeah, in theory this would have been with, there's nothing here on this side, it doesn't say closed or anything like that. That would have been what held that locked, and it actually does a pretty okay job still. So beyond that, we have this lovely, like, lacing, leather lacing along the exterior, very common for the era. I see that all over the place. It looks like you've got a 2-layer here of maybe like 2-ounce leather tops, with a nice, with very flat, like, parallel to the edge of the leather, which is not what we see a lot of these days. A lot of them are kind of at this nice little angle in the French method, or you use circular punches for more of the modern stuff. So I'm kind of curious to figure out, like, when I recreate this, how I want to do that. You know, it may end up being just using a fork. We'll see. End connectors here. You can see they're kind of a triangular moves here in this clasp that is folded over and kind of secured down here. Let's see, can I get good light on that? Yeah, there we go. You can see how that is connected there. So there's that. And then interestingly, so the first thing I did, by the way, in terms of like getting historical items like this in leather, you want to keep them hydrated, because when they dry out, they start to crack. And you can kind of see that. I'm a little close here, but you can see some of those lines starting to form. So the first thing I did was grab some Phoebing's Aussie. And Aussie is a leather conditioner here that has beeswax in it, of course, but it is strictly for conditioning, strengthening, and even waterproofing if that's what you want to do. I did not clean this with soap before I started, but I did, and I didn't even use a clean cloth. I just used clean hands, and just took just a little bit at a time, right, and start to massage it in, right? And you can see almost, especially depending on how dry some of these things are, just how quickly it soaks it all in. And I can tell these sides are still a little dry, so I will have to do more. I kind of wish I'd gotten some video of this before I started doing the conditioning process, but that's okay. Maybe another time. It is a very satisfying thing, I might say. So from there, here's another thing that we want to look at. So here, I'm going to put this up at the 10-inch mark. You can see that this is roughly 6 inches wide by, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 by 6, thereabout. It's ever so slightly tapers up in about a 1/4 inch from each side here. And then you've got this lovely shape here. When it comes to finding another purse frame, I don't think I'll have a lot of luck finding this specific shape. But that's okay, because this wasn't the only shape, right? All right, so we're gonna move that to open, and we're gonna flip this open and actually look at the side now. So the exterior is in just beautiful condition, all things considered. So here's your purse frame. I'm gonna open this up ever so gently. Now you can see, moving from 10 here, I'm just gonna pretend, so that opens up about 5 inches across the top. And I would say, I'd still give it a 6-inch because you've got this little flap here. And you still have your seam allowances over here as well. And then that comes down. So it's just basically a rounded triangle piece here. You can see the roundness there. And this is super thin, maybe like a 1 ounce, maybe a 2 ounce. Like it's really, really thin and very soft. And it has to be, right, to be able to come and fold as such. So typically what this would, when you're tooling any leather, outside of heat embossing, it has to be veg tan. Heat embossing you can do with chrome tan, right? Because chrome tan, it is processed with chromium salts. It tans in about a day versus about 6 weeks for veg tan leather. But you can't tool chrome tan leather or oil tan like you can veg tan. So this tells me this is more than likely veg tan, like almost undoubtedly. Like chrome tan came in the late 1800s, dumping all kinds of chemicals in our water. If I remember reading correctly, I'll verify that later. But here you can see like some of these flower, half flower stamps, those are still available today. And if you look super, super close, through here, you can see pear shaders of different sizes. I mean, they're all teeny tiny, right? But what they would have done at this point, if this were a hand created process, and that I don't know for sure, but I would assume it is, just based on their whole thing was luxury at an affordable price. Maybe this was machine done, but it would have had to, wet down or case the leather, and then you would have used a scroll tool to get these nice clean lines. There's no cutting that I can see anywhere in this leather, as far as I can tell. So you would have had to use a stylus tool. I think I call it a scroll. It's probably a stylus, to go through and mark all of these things and kind of get your highlights and your depth and your shading, and look, it kind of fades out to nothing there. And then you would go back through and do your relief with the shaders and bevelers. You could probably use, there's kind of the tool has two ends to it, right? Like you've got a ball end and a scoop end, which I'll show when I start to recreate this. And that is how you would get some of these shapes in here. So this exterior leather, oh gosh, I don't know if you can see, I don't have a way to measure this, but the interior here looks like it might be a 1/16 of an inch thick, and the exterior layer is probably closer to 1/8 of an inch. I would say probably a 4 ounce. You need something with a little bit of extra material behind the surface of the leather so the tooling will actually take and you don't punch through the leather. The only other thing that I could conjecture at this point, because I don't have solid data, is that this would be a milled vegetable tan leather versus a standard, because it is so soft and supple. There is milled tooling leather out there. I have some actually for another project, and I'm going to dig into that for this. There's no additional padding that I can tell in the strap. It's just 2 pieces put together and stitched together. Finally, I guess we can look at this lacing pattern. I have never laced leather before, so we'll figure that out together. So yeah, that is basically the bag in a nutshell. And from here, I will start figuring out how to do a design.